I, 28F, have been married to my husband, Ryan, 30M, for 5 years now. Together, we have a wonderful but challenging 3-year-old daughter, Emma. Emma is autistic and nonverbal, which means our lives revolve around maintaining routines that help her feel safe and comfortable. Even small changes can lead to major meltdowns, so we've learned to be very careful about how we manage our environment, especially when we're away from home. Every summer, Ryan's extended family rents a large beach house for a 2-week vacation. It's been a tradition for over a decade, and while it can be chaotic, it's something we've always looked forward to. The beach house has 5 bedrooms, a luxurious master suite, 3 regular bedrooms, and a small room with bunk beds. Ryan's parents always take the master suite, and the rest of us draw straws for the remaining rooms. It's a system that has worked well enough over the years, with everyone accepting their lot without much fuss. This year, things took a turn for the worse when Ryan's older brother, Jason, 35M, and his wife, Lisa, 33F, announced that they were expecting their first child. Lisa is 7 months pregnant, and it's been a tough pregnancy for her. She's had severe morning sickness, constant back pain, and overall just hasn't been herself. Jason and Lisa arrived at the beach house with the expectation that they would get one of the best rooms, bypassing the usual straw drawing process. They claimed that Lisa needed a comfortable bed due to her condition, and everyone was quick to agree, but halfway through, Lisa changed her mind and agreed to participate. Ryan and I didn't mind, thinking that as long as we had a good space for Emma, we'd be fine. We drew straws, and luck was on our side. Ryan, Emma, and I ended up with the best regular bedroom, which has an ensuite bathroom and a beautiful ocean view. The room was perfect for us, especially for Emma. The sound of the waves was soothing to her, and the ensuite bathroom meant we didn't have to navigate through shared spaces when she needed a quiet moment. Jason and Lisa got the second best room, which, while not as nice, was still perfectly comfortable. It seemed like everything was settled, but I should have known that with Lisa, nothing was ever simple. A little backstory. Before I met Ryan, there was history between him and Lisa. They had a brief fling the summer after college, one of those intense, short-lived romances that burns bright and fast. They met at a mutual friend's party and were immediately drawn to each other. They spent a few hot weeks together, but it quickly became clear that they were too different to make it work. Ryan was serious, looking for a committed relationship, while Lisa was more carefree and not interested in settling down. They ended things on relatively good terms, but there was no denying the chemistry that had once been there. Fast forward 7 years, and Ryan was now married to me, and Lisa ended up marrying Ryan's older brother, Jason. Awkward, I know. Jason wasn't exactly a looker with his balding head and large belly, but he made up for it by pandering to all of Lisa's needs. Back then, when Ryan and I started dating, Lisa was already part of the family, but there was always this unspoken tension between us. Lisa always acted like she was in some kind of competition with me, as if she needed to prove that she's better or more desirable. It's exhausting. I've never been the jealous type, but Lisa's constant need to one-up me had gotten under my skin more times than I cared to admit. One particular instance comes to mind. It was a few years ago during a family dinner. We were all gathered at Ryan's parents' house for Thanksgiving, and the conversation turned to our respective careers. I'm a graphic designer, and I had just landed a major client, which was a big deal for me. Ryan, being the supportive husband he is, proudly mentioned my achievement to the family. Lisa immediately jumped in, mentioning that her latest real estate deal had closed for twice the commission she was expecting. The way she said it, with that smug little smile, made it clear she wasn't just sharing good news, she was trying to overshadow my accomplishment. It was a small thing, but it was just one of many instances where Lisa seemed determined to remind me that she's always one step ahead. I didn't think much of it, especially during moments like this when I had to live in the same house with her. When we arrived at our room, things started off well enough. We unpacked, settled into our room, and began to unwind. Emma took to the new environment surprisingly well. She loved the view and spent a lot of time by the window, watching the waves roll in. Ryan and I were relieved. Emma's happiness and comfort are always our top priority. However, during dinner on the first night, things took a turn. Lisa began complaining about their room. She said the mattress was too firm, the room was too close to the street, and the noise was keeping her up. She also claimed that the mosquito problem was unbearable because she couldn't open the windows. Initially, we all listened sympathetically, but then Jason suggested that Ryan and I should switch rooms with them to make Lisa more comfortable. I was shocked. It wasn't just the request, it was the way it was presented, as if it was a given that we would comply without question. I politely declined, explaining that Emma was already settled in our room and that disrupting her routine could lead to meltdowns. I mentioned how important it was for her to feel secure, especially in an unfamiliar environment. Lisa's reaction was immediate and dramatic. Her face turned red, and tears welled up in her eyes. She accused me of being selfish, of not caring about her pregnancy and the health of her baby. Jason backed her up, saying that as a mother, I should understand how important it is for Lisa to be comfortable. They both acted as if I was deliberately making things difficult for them, when in reality, I was just trying to protect my daughter's well-being. Ryan tried to mediate, suggesting that we could switch rooms halfway through the vacation, but Lisa refused. She insisted that she needed consistency and that moving halfway through would be too stressful for her. The more she talked, the more I realized that this wasn't just about the room. It was about control. Lisa wanted what she wanted, and she was willing to manipulate everyone around her to get it. I've seen this side of Lisa before, but never so blatantly. She's always had a way of turning situations to her advantage, using her emotions to sway others. In the past, I've tried to be understanding, to rise above it, but this time, I couldn't back down. It wasn't just about standing up for myself, it was about standing up for Emma, who couldn't advocate for herself. The argument escalated quickly. Lisa's tears turned to anger as she accused me of not caring about family, of putting my own comfort above hers. She even went so far as to say that I was endangering her baby's health by forcing her to sleep in an unsuitable room. Jason, who usually tries to stay level-headed, was completely on her side, calling me a selfish bitch in front of everyone. Ryan's parents, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke up, siding with Lisa and urging me to give up the room to keep the peace. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It felt like everyone was ganging up on me, completely ignoring the fact that I was only trying to do what was best for Emma. I stood my ground, repeating that we had drawn straws fair and square, and that Emma's needs had to come first. I also pointed out that Lisa had been fine with their room until she saw that we got the one she wanted. I couldn't help but wonder if this was all just another one of her power plays, an attempt to prove that she could still have control over Ryan, even after all these years. That night, the tension in the house was palpable. Ryan and I barely spoke before bed. I knew he was torn, caught between supporting me and not wanting to upset his family. He understood why I didn't want to switch rooms, but he also felt bad for Lisa. Her pregnancy had been tough, and he didn't want to add to her stress. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just pregnancy hormones. This was Lisa being Lisa, using her situation to get what she wanted, no matter the cost to others. The next day, we had planned a family outing to a nearby seaside town. The atmosphere was tense as we piled into cars, with Lisa giving me the cold shoulder. During the drive, I could feel the weight of the argument from the night before hanging over us like a dark cloud. Ryan tried to lighten the mood by making small talk, but no one was really in the mood to engage. When we arrived at the town, everyone split up to explore. Ryan, Emma, and I decided to check out the local aquarium, hoping it would be a soothing experience for Emma. She loves fish, and we thought it would be a nice way to take her mind off the tension at the beach house. For a little while, it seemed to work. Emma was mesmerized by the colorful fish swimming in the tanks, and Ryan and I were able to relax a bit, enjoying the peaceful environment. But our brief reprieve didn't last long. We met up with the rest of the family for lunch at a seaside restaurant, and that's when things started to go downhill. Lisa was in full passive-aggressive mode, complaining about everything from the weather to the food to the seating arrangements. She made a point of loudly mentioning how difficult it was for her to walk around town in her condition and how exhausted she was, casting pointed looks in my direction as if to say, "See what you're putting me through?" Her words were laced with venom, but they were masked with a sickly sweet tone that made it hard for anyone to call her out directly. It was when the waiter brought out the food that things escalated. Lisa took one look at her plate and wrinkled her nose in disgust. "I can't eat this," she declared, pushing the plate away dramatically. "It's too greasy, and the smell is making me nauseous. I thought we'd go somewhere that caters to people with special needs," she said, glancing at her belly as if the world should revolve around her pregnancy. If I had the opportunity to run her over with my car, I'd have shown her the true meaning of special needs. Anyways, Jason, always ready to defend his wife, immediately called the waiter over and demanded a new dish, something more appropriate for a pregnant woman. The waiter, looking flustered, apologized and hurried off to make the changes, while Lisa shot me a triumphant look, as if she'd won some unspoken battle. The rest of the meal was tense and uncomfortable. Every time someone tried to steer the conversation to a more neutral topic, Lisa would find a way to bring it back to her pregnancy and how difficult everything was. It was clear she was milking the situation for all it was worth, trying to make me feel guilty for not giving up the room. After lunch, we all walked along the boardwalk, but the tension between Lisa and me was crazy. She made a show of walking slowly, with exaggerated steps, and frequently stopped to rest, sighing dramatically and making sure everyone noticed how tired she was. Jason hovered around her like an overprotective nurse, offering her water, asking if she needed to sit down, and shooting dirty looks at anyone who didn't immediately offer to help. Ryan noticed my frustration and squeezed my hand, offering a small smile of encouragement. He knew how hard it was for me to keep my cool in the face of Lisa's constant digs. But I could tell he was also worried about his family's opinion and didn't want things to escalate further. I appreciated his support, but part of me wished he would just tell Lisa off. After all, she was being unreasonable, and it was starting to wear on everyone's nerves. Back at the beach house, the tension only grew worse. Lisa's complaints about her room became a constant background noise, with her making offhand comments about how she couldn't sleep a wink and how her back pain was getting worse because of the terrible bed. She didn't stop at just complaining to Jason either. She made sure to mention it loudly when Ryan's parents were within earshot, casting me as the villain who was making her suffer. Ryan's parents, ever the peacemakers, started dropping hints that maybe we should reconsider switching rooms. It's just for a few days, his mother said gently over breakfast one morning. And Lisa is pregnant, dear. She needs her rest. You and Ryan are young, you can handle a little discomfort. I wanted to scream. How could they not see that this was exactly what Lisa wanted? She was manipulating everyone into feeling sorry for her, playing the pregnancy card to get her way. I knew that giving in now would only set a precedent for future vacations, and for our relationship as a whole. If I gave up the room this time, what would Lisa demand next? And how could I look Emma in the eye, knowing I'd put her needs second to Lisa's tantrums? Ryan tried once more to suggest a compromise, saying we could switch halfway through the vacation, but Lisa rejected it outright. I need stability, Ryan, she insisted, her voice trembling with fake emotion. This isn't just about me, it's about the baby. If I don't get proper rest, it could affect my health, and that could harm the baby. I'm sure your wife understands that, right? Everyone looked at me, waiting for my response. I could feel the pressure mounting, the weight of their expectations pressing down on me. But I couldn't give in, not when I knew what was really at stake. So I held my ground, repeating that we had drawn straws fairly, and that Emma's needs had to come first. I also reminded them that Lisa had been fine with her room until she realized we got the better one. Lisa stormed off in tears, leaving everyone else to pick up the pieces. Jason glared at me, muttering something under his breath about how some people just don't have any empathy, while Ryan's parents gave me disappointed looks, as if I was the one causing all the trouble. The whole situation was spiraling out of control, and I couldn't help but feel like I was stuck in a nightmare with no way out. As the days passed, Lisa's behavior only became more erratic. She started making snide comments whenever Ryan and I were together, hinting at their past fling in ways that made me uncomfortable. She would laugh and say things like, "Oh, Ryan, remember when we used to come to places like this? Those were the days, huh?" She always made sure to say it when Jason wasn't around, as if she was trying to drive a wedge between us. One afternoon, we had planned a group outing to a nearby nature reserve. It was supposed to be a relaxing day of hiking and picnicking, something that everyone could enjoy. But as soon as we arrived, Lisa started complaining about how she couldn't possibly hike in her condition and how we were being inconsiderate by dragging her out on such a strenuous activity. Ryan's parents immediately offered to stay back with her, but Lisa insisted that she didn't want to ruin the day for everyone else. "You all go ahead," she said with a forced smile. "I'll just wait here, Ryan will stay with me," he said something about having a headache earlier. "We can catch up, right, Ryan?" Ryan looked at me, clearly torn. He didn't want to leave me alone with Emma, especially since she had been having a tough morning, but he also didn't want to upset Lisa. I could see the conflict in his eyes, and it made me furious. Why was he letting Lisa manipulate him like this? Why couldn't he see what she was doing? Headache my foot. She just wanted my husband to stay back. Before I could say anything, Jason stepped in. "No, Ryan, you go with your wife. I'll stay with Lisa," he said firmly. The look on Lisa's face was priceless. She clearly hadn't expected Jason to step up like that. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her, but then I remembered how she'd been trying to use Ryan against me, and my sympathy evaporated. The hike was beautiful, but I couldn't fully enjoy it. I kept thinking about Lisa and the way she had been acting, the way she seemed determined to make this vacation all about her. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that there was more to her behavior than just pregnancy hormones. Why did Ryan keep giving in to her when he could have just cut her off? I didn't get it. But that evening, back at the beach house, the truth finally came out. It started innocently enough. We were all sitting around the living room, chatting and watching a sad telenovela, when Lisa suddenly burst into tears. At first, everyone assumed it was just another one of her mood swings and the show was kinda sad. Jason tried to comfort her but she wouldn't stop crying. Emma, triggered by her noise, also joined in, screaming her head off. It was chaos. Ryan dug through his pockets, pulling out a lollipop. I smiled gratefully, hoping it would do the trick and calm Emma down. But instead of passing it to our daughter, he gave it to Lisa. She stopped crying immediately, leaving only Emma's loud wails. I frowned in disappointment, looking at Ryan strangely while I cuddled Emma. Lisa pulled Ryan over, wrapping her arms around his torso as she sniffled. I thought it was just another bitchy move, but then she blurted out something that shocked us all. "I can't keep this secret anymore." She started sobbing again. "I'm so sorry, Jason, but the baby. It's not yours." The room fell silent. It felt like all the air had been sucked out, leaving only a heavy, suffocating stillness. Jason stared at Lisa, his face a mix of confusion and hurt. "What do you mean?" he asked slowly, as if he didn't want to believe what he was hearing. Lisa took a deep breath. It's Ryan's, she whispered, bowing her head as if she was, but I could see her smiling. The baby is Ryan's. My heart stopped. For a moment, I thought I had misheard her, that there was no way she could have said what I thought she did. But the smile on her face when she looked at me told me she was telling the truth. Ryan looked as stunned as I felt. What are you talking about, Lisa? He demanded, his voice rising in anger. How could the baby possibly be mine? Lisa quickly changed her expression, gathering tears in her eyes like a paid actress. She talked about how, during a rough patch in her marriage with Jason, she and Ryan had reconnected briefly, just for one night. It had been a moment of weakness, a mistake that she now regretted more than anything. I couldn't breathe. My whole world felt like it was crumbling around me. I looked at Ryan, searching his face for some sign that this was all just a terrible misunderstanding. Lisa was a liar, and if he had said she was lying, I'd have believed him. But all I saw was shock and disbelief. Jason's reaction was even worse. He stood up, his face turning red with rage. You slept with my brother? He shouted, his voice shaking with fury. After everything we've been through, you did this to me? Ryan was still frozen in place. I couldn't believe it. The worst part? The look on Ryan's face told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't lying. I knew Lisa didn't regret anything, yet I had to ask. When did that happen? She smirked, counting on her fingers. A rainy night in June. I tried to do the math, wondering where I was when it went down. Only one night stood out to me. One night when Emma had a major meltdown. It was so bad that she was turning blue from crying. I had to take her to the pediatric unit. Ryan said he was working overnight and it was raining heavily. So I told him not to come. But, he was actually balls deep in another woman. Ryan tried to explain, but before he could get a word out, I slapped Lisa across the face. I was furious, and honestly, I didn't care about anything but the betrayal at that moment. How could she do this to me, to our family? How could he? All I could see was red. Ryan tried to come near me, but I lost it. I swung at him, punched him, shoved him, anything to get him away from me. The man I trusted, who I thought was my partner in everything, had betrayed me in the worst possible way. The same woman he always told me not to worry about. That was years ago. Ryan's parents got involved at this point, and his mom had the audacity to tell me I was overreacting and that I needed to calm down. I was in shock. Overreacting? My husband had just gotten his brother's wife pregnant, and I was the one overreacting? Then, to make matters worse, Ryan's mom starts going on about how we need to think about what's best for everyone. And by everyone, she meant Lisa, the baby, and, apparently, them. She said that maybe this baby is fate, because Emma has been difficult and maybe this new baby would be easier or more normal. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was she seriously saying that Emma isn't normal? That this affair, this betrayal, was somehow okay because of our daughter's challenges? My hands were shaking, and I felt like I was going to be sick. Ryan finally snapped out of his shock and tried to defend Emma, but his mom wasn't backing down. She kept insisting that we needed to be reasonable and think about the future. I was done. I couldn't take any more of this madness. I grabbed my keys and bolted for the door, pulling Emma along. Ryan tried to stop me, saying we needed to talk, but there was nothing left to say. He made his choice when he slept with Lisa, and now he can live with it. I left the beach house without looking back, barely able to get the car started because I was shaking so badly. I just drove, trying to put as much distance between myself and the disaster of my marriage. So, Reddit, Ida for losing it and leaving after finding out my husband is the father of my Sills baby? I'm devastated and beyond angry, but a part of me wonders if I should have handled it differently, or if I'm justified in my reaction. I'm currently lodged in a nearby hotel and my bags are still in the vacation house. Emma finally calmed down and she's sleeping soundly, but tomorrow is a new day and I don't know what to do. Technically, I'm giving Lisa what she wants by leaving my room and Ryan.